reflections. I hope you all had a good Halloween this past week, and you've got the cold and now the warm, and we'll just see how everything works today. And we got something else that's going to be something so significant for you to understand today, and it's about a potential foundation. And you'll have to figure out what that means. That's just kind of something you'll have to see in a minute. And during this period of time, you'll learn about a person who's sitting next to me right now, Tony Williams. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, I'm glad too, because I know that we've talked together and we had seen each other for a lot, but we never really had a very deep discussion about what we're about to do today. And I know how important it is to you and how much you've made it here. So we'll talk a little bit about it, and we'll understand that this is between Liverpool and St. Augustine. So we'll figure out it. If you know the Beatles, you know exactly where it started. So there we go. So right away today is about thanking all the people that have been supporting us right now, the DJ's Clam Shack of St. Augustine, and then the Shee family, and I'm so grateful for that, so that you can see and get the kind of words and people that you hear, and sometimes you enjoy them, sometimes you don't. It's okay. It's all for you. And the DJ's Clam Shack, as you may remember, I've talked about it several times, that they have the fresh seafood that is flavorful in the heart of the historic St. Augustine. And they're right there, and they're right off of Hippolyta Street, 21 Hippolyta Street, just across from where the parking lot is. And you'll see them as you're walking to Columbia or any of the other places. And it was an organization that started from that has the Northeast meeting to Key West with St. Augustine in between. So born in the Florida Keys and rooted in New England tradition. I'm sorry, daggum, I can't get going good this morning yet. So DJ serves up, as we have talked before, lobster rolls, fried clams, conch fritters, and much more, made with the fresh, highest quality ingredients that you'll ever do. They start every Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 9. And it's the perfect spot to just walk around and stroll through the old streets of St. Augustine and taste one of the best seafood experiences in our country. So that's where they are with DJ, and we're appreciative of them being with us. And the Shee family are so much there. A lot of you know of them with the Tringali, where they have the barn, and people get there and they do all of these things. Well, we'd like to extend again today our heartfelt thanks to the Shee family, and one of the most generous and community-focused families in all of St. Johns County. And through the work of the Tringali Barn, it's a premier event and wedding venue, and the leadership is of Chris Shee. And I saw the other day that he had just purchased one of the things of one of the great southern songs and southern people that did it, and you'll just have to ask him about that. And he continues to support and uplift our countless local causes. He's so active in that it's just amazing. And their commitment is to giving back. We always want to give back, because it's got to be a lasting impact. And we'll be talking about that today, Tony, about a lasting impact. And we'll do it. And we are truly grateful that what they do for our community. And we thank you, the Shee family, to make the St. Johns County even stronger. So thank you both, and DJs and the Shee family, for being with us. And now we'll just get into where we're at with Tony, and you'll be seeing a movie. Oh man, movies on Monday for Sunday, but it's only a 3.5 or 3 minute movie that you might find very interesting. So Tony, I want to know a little bit more about you, and I'm sure that everybody that's here and listening and whatever, because I knew that you were from Liverpool, and I knew that you somehow started playing with a football that we call soccer. so not on many of us.
Win for the Jags last night.
That's right. The Jaguars weren't kicking the ball though, except that one guy who kicked it for 68 yards. Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was a great ending last night.
Yeah. So tell me how you got started and why you were born in Liverpool or somewhere nearby. You came to Liverpool. I knew that. So tell me about this and share that with all these folks.
First of all, thanks for having me, Rick. It's a blessing to be here. I think God connects people for a reason, and we sit at the table, not by coincidence at Rotary. I think it's meant to be, and certainly my calling has been to use my passion of soccer to uplift those less fortunate than ourselves. So I grew up in Liverpool, where every kid's dream is to not be the Beals, but every kid's dream is to become a professional soccer player. Unfortunately, that wasn't part of God's plan for me. I wasn't good enough. So God connected me to my PE teacher, who changed my life. He walked up to me one day and said, "Tony, you're the school captain. I'm a rugby player. I can't play soccer. You can. If I can get you out of class, will you come and be a PE teacher with us today?"
Wow.
And that changed my life.
Wow.
I never had any direction.
How old were you then?
I was 16.
16.
I was 16, and at the time, my youth soccer club, similar to St. Ancient City Soccer Club, it finished at 16. So I had nowhere to go. I wasn't good enough to be a professional. Wasn't going to play in college. And my club team said, "Hey, we've got an under-12 team. Why don't you be the coach? You're good with kids." So then I knew I wanted to be a coach. So I went to coaching school for a year, and then I got a job at Norwich City Football Club. So,
well, tell them a little bit about that, because they don't know as much about things that you do in England. So tell them why those things are there, because we have, the owner of the Jaguars owns a one of the top ones that's still playing in it there, and you can share all those things, how it fits together.
That's right. How it fits together is, if you look at the Jags, they don't have in the NFL, they don't have a youth development system underneath the Jags. The best football players from all over Jacksonville don't play for the Jaguars youth program. It's a different pathway. They go to college and they're recruited through college into the NFL. It's different in Europe.
Right, and so tell us how it works.
What happens is, Norwich City Soccer Club would pick the most promising kids from within an hour of their club and groom them to be the next generation of professional players. So that was my job, which was to go around the community and identify players to be professionals.
Wow.
And many of them went on and played in the Premier League. But I was disillusioned with the way professional soccer treated kids who weren't good enough. I thought we should be investing in them regardless of their ability. So I left professional soccer and went over to Northern Ireland, where at the time in the late 80s, Catholics and Protestants were shooting each other and kids were throwing petrol bombs at each other. But the only thing that could bring them together was football.
Yeah, well, I told you about that. I had met with a lady that won the Peace Award, along with another one, a Catholic and a Protestant, and one on one side and one on the other of Northern Ireland, and also the other, so in Ireland itself. And so to have that thing and be able to stop it, it took those women to be able to say, we got to quit having our children killed. We have to stop this, and they did. So go ahead. I just wanted to add that.
It was a very challenging time. So I partnered with an organization called the Belfast Action Team, and we went on to the IRA estates in the Falls Road, and we identified players in their schools. We went on the Ballybean estate, the Protestants, and we brought them together on common ground at Queen's University.
Wow.
And the prize for the conflict resolution was a trip to America. So we had these kids, Rick, who were previously throwing petrol bombs at each other. Their dads were in prison for trying to kill each other or killing their families. We're now sleeping in the same room as each other.
Yeah.
And we brought them to Clearwater for a tournament. And the American family said, "Tony, what's going on here? Like, why are you talking to these kids about Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Mandela? And why are you giving them books?" I said, "This has got nothing to do with soccer. This is about using their passion of soccer to develop a life of leadership." So then there is conflict resolution through sport, and they develop respect and empathy for each other. And they said, "Have you any idea what's going on here? There's a soccer explosion." And I said, "No." He said, "But that philosophy of yours would go down very well here. If you ever want to come over here, there's a place for you here in Florida." And I never thought anything of it.
Right. Yeah,
Then,
you were in England.
I was in England. I was happy. And then April 13th, 1996, to be totally transparent, I was engaged to be married. We were like oil and water, and we split up, and I needed to get my head clear. So I came over. I never expected I was going to live the rest of my life here, but it was obviously in God's plan to connect the dots. And I came over April 13th, 1996, became a national scout for US soccer. My job was to find the most promising players from New York to DC. And then it become much more than soccer. It became, how can my life have a positive impact through sport? So then, as I was doing the scouting, you realized the most promising players were not going to come from all the most affluent areas. You had to go into underserved communities where the passion of soccer in Africans and Mexicans and Latinos it was in their culture. So that's what I did. I went into the most needy, underserved communities and looked for the most promising players. And we found a kid from Africa called Freddie Adu, who turned out to be the youngest ever professional soccer player in America. And I got a full-time job as a national scout. And then we went to US soccer and said, I think we should be doing more than just picking out the most talented players and putting them on our national teams.
Right.
Why don't we use soccer for social impact? And they said, Tony, it's very honorable, but we don't have the money. And I said, well, when you look at someone and you think they're going to burst out laughing and you realize he was serious. I said, we're in the most resource nation in the world.
Right.
Money's not going to be the object.
Right.
I said, if I can raise the money, will you support me? And they said, yes. So we started a foundation in Philadelphia called the Starfinder Foundation. And it went into underserved communities to identify recent immigrant youth who were getting in trouble.
Right. And that's really a big thing because, as you know, that if you have nothing else to do, then you go and do the things with other people who just say, hey, let's break into this. Let's shoot the person here. Let's use drugs. Let's do all the things that become so bad. But if they knew how it works, I mean, if you think about the West Side Story, it was a great movie, a great play, and you saw what happened there. It was almost, it was a Romeo and Juliet too. I mean, it was all those things together, but it was in the same way that we're talking now, that they knew the policemen, they knew how they could work around them, they knew how to play those games, but they never had that opportunity. And the opportunity is what you're talking about.
Amen. And you talk about the West Side Story. I'll give you a Southwest story of what you've just said and how it was part of God's plan. One day I got a phone call from a young boy called Playboy, and I'm not going to give you his real name.
Right.
It was his street name of
Sure.
Playboy. He'd come over from Liberia, where his family had been macheted to death in front of his eyes as a young boy. And his mum brought him over here to get away from that. And he called me up one day and said, hey, Coach Tony, I need your help. And I said, how much do you need? He normally needed money for food.
Sure.
Or fresh sneaks. He said, no, I've been shot. And exactly what you said. The only way that he could get money was to take this bag of weed from one corner to another. And one day he took it to the wrong corner and he got shot. So I went and picked him up, brought him back to my house. And I knew I loved my wife. And after this experience, I loved her even more because she bathed him, took him to the hospital. We got him treated. Thank God it went through the muscle and not through the bone. And we knew that he was going to retaliate, because you can't be seen weak in front of your peers, especially girls in a high school culture. So we had a shore house. We took him on holiday for us for the week, and at the end of the week, we were lying in bed, and Suzanne turned around to me and said, "What's going to happen now?" I said, "Well, what do you want to happen now?" She said, "Well, we got to look after him." So we went back to his mum and said, "If we became his caregivers and kept him safe, would that be okay with you?" And she cried. She cried and got on her knees and prayed. So I knew it was the right thing. It wasn't my choice.
Right.
It was
right.
I think sometimes God puts people in your path, and it's like they've got a halo around, and this is the one. There's like a light around them.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with this boy. So we brought him into our home, and he lived with us for 2 years. We put him in a suburban school. We went through grades, And he is now living safe, alive, married with 2 kids, a manager of a warehouse in Dakota, North Dakota. So is he a professional soccer player?
No.
Has he got the character of a champion now? Amen. 100% he has.
Yeah.
So of all the things we've ever done, of all the kids that are, from the scouting days, 4 of those kids are now on the U.S. national team. Will be blessed to hopefully play in the World Cup next year.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
not as important as that one life that was changed. It's like the starfish story.
Yeah.
Where the guy's on the beach and he's throwing all the starfish back, and a guy turns around to him and says, "Though, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. How can you make a difference?" And he said, "I made a difference in that one." And God connected us to Playboy, and he chose to take a different path, where many of his kids and many of his friends are now dead or incarcerated.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happened to us in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Many of the kids didn't make it through and are either in jail for murder.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting comment. We've had on this on our show. We had him here on Sunday Reflections, and his name is Jacob Atem, and he was one of the lost boys of Sudan, and he was 6 years old when they killed his mother and father, and his uncle was with them. They're very tall people. Jacob is not the same height as that, but from South Sudan. But he ended up being there, and his uncle, they shot him too in front of him. So he finally came to the United States after he had to go for 2,000 miles walking, drinking your own urine for water, fighting against alligators and crocodiles and people dying, and 25,000 of them died going to a place in Kenya. And when they finally got there, people were taking all their food, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the Congress of the United States, both House and Senate together, Republicans and Democrats, allowed the people to send so many people here if they had a place to go. Well, he ended up going to Michigan, in Lansing, Michigan. You can imagine what it's like from South Sudan to Michigan. But here's where the point came in that is very similar to what you just said. When he went to school, he didn't know English. Okay, so when he went there and somebody starts making fun of him, he has to fight them. He has to fight them because he's been through all of those deaths. He saw how it worked, and he would not do it. And his mother said to him, his stepmother, not stepmother, but his mother that they used for him to be there, that was so important to them and has always been. And she said, "No, you've created trouble, and it's not about fighting; it's about helping, and not doing that." And it changed his life. He then came on and did all those things, and you all can watch that. You can see it on YouTube. It's when it's on 904 now. You'll hear the rest of that story, but you'll understand why what you just said happens to everybody who's been fighting for guns and shooting down. And we know it's going to happen also in Gaza. We know it's going to happen. There's going to be people there ready to kill some other Jew, and the Jews are going to be willing to kill them. And it's just, we already saw that it broke already. It already broke. And so it's so hard. I mean, we cannot understand that we are a circle, and all of us are together in that circle. I've shared this before, and I just know that we're all together. And do you love yourself? Because if you don't love yourself, then God doesn't see the love that you see in Him. You don't ever see it. You don't see it.
I was blessed. I don't know whether you remember, but when you brought the gentleman to Rotary,
Jacob.
I had a pleasure of meeting Jacob. And I could relate to what he said that day, because when Starfinder started to get successful in shaping and transforming the lives of at-risk youth by leveraging their passion for soccer, that full circle, you needed something to bring them together.
Right.
And what brought them together was soccer. And it was the same in Northern Ireland, it was the same in Philadelphia, and it's the same here in St. Augustine. But Starfinder, we were chosen as one of 80 organizations around the world that was the best practice organization for social impact through soccer. So I had the blessing of traveling to 40 countries around the world, and you learned of horrific situations where in Uganda, one of the organizations begged with the warlords for the lives of young people, because the young people would be put on the front lines with machetes, and then the elders would come in behind them when they were tired. And then, so that's what they did, is they said, this kid you can get money from being the agent of this kid, because he's going to be a professional player. And they leveraged the power of soccer to save their lives.
Wow.
Another guy said, well, I go in Cambodia because of the civil war. There was left landmines that nobody knew about. So innocent kids were playing soccer, and their limbs were being blown off by unidentified landmines. So what this guy did, he took his professional training with landmines and went and cleared them after conflict resolution.
Wow.
After conflicts, so it saved kids' lives. It really put things in perspective that your challenges are other people's dreams. And there is hope out there, but you've got to show kids a different way than what's happening in their neighborhood, because that peer pressure is so strong,
right? Whether
it's in Gaza, whether it's in Uganda, or whether it's in West Augustine,
right?
You've got to show kids that there's a better way out.
Well, tell me this. At some point in time, you left all of those places, Clearwater and all those, and you came to St. Augustine. Well, how did that happen?
That happened from Philadelphia. That's where my wife Suzanne is from, South Jersey, close to Philadelphia suburbs, and her family vacationed, and we vacationed with them about 15 years ago in St. Augustine, and we loved it. But I never realized it was part of God's plan that he'd put us here. But I guess he was sending a message and I didn't listen. So I tried to go back to Philadelphia for a few years, and he said, hey, Tone, that's where I need you to be. So what happened was Suzanne's dad was 91. And he was shoveling snow in Jersey.
Yeah.
I said, Gene, come on, go and get some sun on your back. So Suzanne's two sisters are retired school teachers, have both moved down here.
Okay.
And loved it.
In St. John's County?
Yeah, on the beach.
Okay.
At St. Augustine Beach. So we brought her mum and dad down here, and 6 months later, he got diagnosed with dementia.
Wow.
So we came down to spend we didn't know how long, and he lasted 6 months.
Right.
And then we were here, and we had a 93-year-old mother-in-law. There was no way we were going to leave her.
Right.
So Suzanne became her caregiver for 2 years. And that's how I got involved in Ancient City Soccer Club. And our original plan is we'd come down and look after Suzanne's mum. We'd travel around Florida and find our dream location. And we just looked at each other one day on Crescent Beach and said, we found it.
That's it.
Just sitting at Colonial Oak, listening to music.
Yeah.
And we just thought, this is a beautiful community that we'd love to be part of. So Suzanne she'd always asked me, like, why don't you get health insurance, Tony? And I said, I'm fit and well. We'll invest that money. We don't need it.
Yeah.
And she said, come on, you're 55 now. You need it.
Yeah.
So we went to Mark Bailey's office. And that's where everybody said, if you want health insurance, go and see Mark Bailey.
Right.
And that was another one where the big fellas just connected the dots. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy sitting there in board shorts. I didn't know who he was, and it was Mark.
Yeah.
He said, hey, where's that accent from? I said, I'm from Liverpool. He said, what are you doing here? Right. I said, I'm a soccer guy, but I want my life to have a positive impact on this community. And he said, we need to talk. So
that was great.
We went for lunch, and I explained the background.
Yeah. Well, he's been on here too with Greg White and stuff from West King. And
Greg's coming to the program this afternoon.
Okay, well that's great. Yeah.
So I asked Mark if there's one place that we could use soccer,
right,
as part of God's plan. Where would it be? And he said, go to West Augustine and go to Webster School.
Yeah.
So we started 13 months ago.
Well, tell Greg I said hello.
I will do this afternoon.
Yeah. So
we started. I became involved in Ancient City Soccer Club, and Micah Kluge, great family, and Micah and I have become close friends. And we said, let's create this model called the club and community model. So it's where you pick a community of need, and you mobilize the resources of the local club to feed the needs of the local community.
Sure.
and then you partner with Flagler College to bring their players in.
And so Flagler College is very active with you.
Incredible. So we founded the Potential Foundation.
Okay, that's what I wanted to go to next. Yeah, because you're wearing it right now, and I've seen that as well. And tell me about that.
I think it's God's calling. I think every time I go to work in a business, or every time I go work in an organization that's not about using soccer to uplift the lives of underserved youth, it doesn't work out.
Right.
So I'm convinced this is my calling. So I prayed about it and listened, and we created the Potential Foundation. So it's the mission of Potential is to transform the futures of at-risk kids through soccer for better futures.
And you've had certain people that have come out of this. That you have been able to help and take them, just like the person that you described earlier, that you now know where that goes. But you've had people who've gone from that to be a character champion.
Yeah, well, so that's what it's all about. During COVID, we came down here to St. Augustine, and we were running trips around the world previously.
Right.
And traveling all around the world, but there was no more trips around the world, and there was no more travel around the world.
Right.
So again, you say, okay, God, what do you want from me now?
That's it.
And I came up with the idea, with his help, of creating character champions. And it was talking to kids during COVID. And it was a brand called COVID Won't Beat Me. And we started off with 30 kids domestically. And then it grew to 300 kids in 10 different countries. So we had kids in Trinidad and Tobago that were walking 2 miles to get on the friend's phone to be inspired by these messages of hope. And, take your destiny into your own hands. And just because there's a virus doesn't mean that you can't develop yourself and build your character.
Right.
And then at the end of that, we carried it on. And we carried it on at Ancient City Soccer Club.
Right.
And then Micah and I partnered. And now the Potential Foundation takes that character champions as the core message for young children in West Augustine. So how we do that is we partnered with Webster School, and we run a 2-day-a-week learning through soccer after school program called Passport to Prosperity. So we give the kids healthy snacks. We give them a Reading Stars program, because 2/3 of children who are not reading on grade level by the end of 4th grade are either incarcerated or on welfare.
Wow.
So that was haunting statistic to me.
Wow.
So we came home and I said, Suzanne, we got to do something about this. So we went on Amazon and we bought the kids all books to read about their heroes like Messi and Ronaldo and Mo Salah, Kylian Mbappe, Mia Hammond, Michelle Akers, and the adversity that they had to overcome.
Right.
They had to show the character of a champion to be the champion.
That's right.
So that was the message. So we took those books, we partnered with Flagler and created a Reading Stars program. So if the kids read, how many minutes do you read today? Did you read today? And we put that in a league.
Wow.
So all the kids go into a league table and you reward the most improved readers. And then they would go to Flagler soccer games. They would go to Orlando Magic.
That would give them the opportunity.
Yeah, it gives them a field trip and a pathway.
Right. Yeah.
So you're leveraging the passion of soccer to improve their reading. But then you put them on the field and they're not behaving.
Right.
So then we partner with Nanji at Epic Behavioral Health. So now we've got Flagler soccer guys as soccer coaches, and we've got Epic Behavioral Health coaches. So whenever the kids have a meltdown, you can help them understand their emotions and control their emotions and give them coping skills.
Yeah.
So not just on the soccer field, Rick, but it's what happens when there's a conflict in the neighborhood. Right. What happens to conflict in school? You can give them those conflict resolution skills.
Yeah, they become teams too. They work as teams.
Amen.
Instead of just themselves.
Exactly.
So the more you can become a team, the more you're able to do that. And the team with God is the most important team you could ever be in.
Amen.
So I'm going to, I wasn't going to do this early. I told you I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I did a poem that is there that I thought might be interesting as well, because it's a poem about becoming a character champion. Do you know just a somebody who has never been given a life worth living? Because they had no opportunity. These words can be said in any countries that have never been given a character champion, because no one ever told them now. If you learn to play soccer, that is football, to so many others, then you know a single person cannot win without a team and knowing who you are with God. If you were born in a country, city, or town, or by a midwife, or nothing at all, and were never given a chance, you can learn how to be a character champion that will make you the person God created. As you look across the aisle, riding a bus or walking where you had to go, in that place full of people just sitting around with no hope, what was or are your plans to be a character champion? Did you ever pray and ask God to show you the way? Well, there is a way for you to see the opportunity that you've been missing. Even if you are younger than any other people unlike you, God will stay with you and give you hope, joy, and words you can find deep inside as you climb to the highest mountaintop. When you reach it as high as the sky, it will be deep inside. And then if you are willing to do your best, not even the fallen angel can take away a character champion, because God is always on your side.
That's beautiful. Thank you for those words.
Well, that's one that I came up with, and God did that for me. It wasn't a matter of doing it. It's just there. And I think we're really at a place that I think that those of you who have not yet seen this movie might enjoy this movie really well, because I think it tells you a story that helps you understand why people want to be a character champion. So perhaps we can get that on the air and you'll get a chance to see it, and then we'll be back talking with you again in just a couple minutes.
Tony's Character Champions program is unique.
And Tony Williams teaches players with Character Champions from the inside out, how to be a better person on the field and how to be a good person off the field.
Not only about being a soccer player, but it teaches them about being good human beings.
I think that part might be the most important. They inspire him to be a better player, to be a better teammate, to be a better student, to be a better person, to be nicer to his mom. I feel like they instill that in them.
The Character of Champions is incredible because it teaches us stuff that we usually don't learn in other places, like how to conduct yourself.
Every single one of you has a star inside. How bright and how high your star shines is in direct correlation with how positive your attitude is and how strong your character is. The Character of Champions program is the key to player development. Character Champions is not about sports psychology, it's about developing winning habits. Ability alone is never going to get the player to their potential. Starting point to success is positive thinking, to believe that you can.
This team is any representation of what you can be when you do that.
The height of your achievements will be in direct correlation with the depth of your desire. Simply put, those that want it most will get it most.
In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people are thinking.
One, she says, from today, you're going to be Nelson.
The land of the free and the home of the brave, and I believe it should be just that with all people.
I never feared about my skills, because I put in the work.
that club. It's a step up from my old club, so just playing every day with them has been a good experience.
The character of champions is learning about how to be the best you can.
It's really just being professional and mature on and off the field, and to take responsibility whenever you can, and don't let people do stuff for you that you can do yourself.
It has been such an unbelievable experience to see the leadership and the way the coaches teach the kids about character.
We're hoping the values that they learn through this program will lay a foundation for a better future. So regardless of how high the soccer ladder they climb, we're inspiring them to go on and become leaders in their own life.
Wow,
and we're going to really get into this now, Tony, of how this works in St. Augustine and how that put on and what's happened to some of these people who have joined this to be part of what we're talking about today. So help us with this right now, just about how did we, St. Augustine, how did you saw the video, you saw where it's going, so how did this happen?
Yeah, first of all, it's really inspiring to see that video again. It's been a while since I watched that, and some of the boys on there, like James Sands, was an average player who never missed the Character Champions session and ends up in the World Cup team. So that power of that Christian value system consistently, you just can't underestimate the power of developing someone's character to reach their potential. But regardless of how high a child reaches on the soccer pyramid, the values that they learn, regardless of their ability, will last them a lifetime, will lay a foundation for a great future. So, you bring that to West Augustine and you say, how can this transform the futures of at-risk kids in West Augustine, in Hastings, in Palatka, in Jacksonville? By leveraging soccer to do three things. For them, develop them as people, as players, and as students. And it starts with striving for academic excellence. So we run a program called the Reading Stars program. And if the kids read, they can play for the school team. If they don't read, they're not available to play. They love playing at Gamble Rogers every Friday night.
Right.
So now we've been able to improve 100% of the children have increased their at-home reading time.
Because they want to play.
Because they want to play.
Yeah.
So you leverage that power of play to increase their academics. Because if you turn a child's reading around, the economic impact to St. Johns County is between $500,000 and $1.25 million a child.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, the incarceration, the welfare, the added tax revenue, all in all, the minimum of $500,000. If counties and states invest in passion leverage programs, they can save money by investing in literacy initiatives, which I didn't know until I was connected.
You want to do them together.
Yeah, you want to do them together.
Yeah, because that's part of it. Yeah.
So that's the first piece. The second bit is developing the character of a champion. So the decisions children make on the field could cost them the game. Unfortunately, in underserved communities with at-risk kids, the decisions they make, Rick, could cost them their life or somebody else's life. Yeah. So to me, it's much more important. The next video that gets played isn't just putting kids on the World Cup team. It's stories of kids who have changed their life by making better decisions because of these programs.
Right.
So if one young girl resists an unwanted teenage pregnancy, that could transform their life. If one kid has the strength of character to say no to the drug dealer and say yes to education through soccer, you can't put a price on that.
Right.
It breaks generational poverty.
Yeah.
Just one child. So the decisions they make, the ability to resist peer pressure is massive. And the third one is their mental health. It's them overcoming the fact that they can't control their emotion. So as you said before, their first instinct is to
Fight.
lift their fists
To
and fight.
Yeah.
And we've got to train them to have the strength of character not to. And one example, you asked me of kids that this is impacting today.
Right.
In West Augustine. So there's a young boy who came into our program, and I can't mention the name because of
we don't need
legal
to know the
reasons.
name.
But he used to run away from school, and he was brought into Webster School, into the fantastic work that's going on. If you've never been to Webster School,
Yeah.
what a wonderful environment. And they run a special needs program there called MKY. Kids that need behavior programs are put with behavior specialists inside the classroom and out. That amazing work. So this one kid was referred to us and said, Tony, this kid's a fighter, and he needs a sense of belonging. He's never played soccer before. So it doesn't matter. So we poured love into the kid. We trained, and he became good at it. So he wanted to become on the Wolverines team.
Right.
And he would go to gamble every Friday night.
Right.
And one day, he was jumped in school. 3 kids that were jealous of the opportunities. Like
he has.
Part of your prayer was opportunity.
Right.
Some kids in the neighborhood were jealous of the opportunity that this boy was getting, and they jumped him. And normally he would fight back, and he didn't. And the school resource officer, once he calmed him down, said, "What happened? Why didn't you fight back?" And he said, "Coach Tony won't select me on Friday if I retaliate, and I want to go to the field trip
Right.
to Orlando." And I've seen a lot over the last 35 years, Rick, but that made me cry.
I can see it.
That made me cry, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, well, that's
Our program is
that's what it's
working.
important. That's the importance of it. Yeah, it's the importance of it. It's it's interesting that last Rotary, Jerry Wilson was there talking about as it
Music.
relates to music.
Yeah.
So music can bring together too, along with what you're doing with sports. Sports and music can bring people together that were never able to do it themselves because they never understood how it matched together. Those are the real. That's why we have the best music here in St. Augustine. We do, and it allows other people to see it and to see it whether you're at Fort Mose in February or whether you're in some other places or the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall or the amphitheater. You get to understand it, and there's so many people there that if they didn't have that music, I don't know what they'd be doing. I don't know what they'd be doing. We're so blessed.
I'll tell you what this young man's doing now. He is now moved on to middle school, and he comes back to Webster School as an emotional control coach to the younger kids.
Wow.
So we've positioned him as a leader to others in the same way as my PE teacher give me that sense of pride.
He's a character
He's a leader.
champion.
He's a character champion. But the best way for him to learn is to teach.
That's right.
So, you prayed to give kids hope.
Right.
Well, put them in positions of leadership.
That's right.
And they feel like peacocks.
That's right.
But then they need money. It's all well and good. The reason Playboy took that weed from one, because he wanted to feed his family.
Sure.
He didn't do it in a position. He said, I didn't want to be a criminal. He didn't want to be a criminal. He wanted to feed his family, and he saw that's the way that he could do it. It was wrong, obviously, but that was his motive, was to put food on the table for his family, because there was no dad there.
Well, and we talk about it right now, where the whole government is shut down, and now the stamps, the food stamps and stuff are not available, and unless they can work this out soon, then there's going to be more people that are going to be looking another way to find the money for the food, and that's what'll happen.
And crime.
Now we'll see how many policemen are going to get shot at and hurt for something that should never have happened.
Well, that was another answer to prayer. My prayer every morning is the prayer of Jabez.
Right.
Bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. And to me, it's enlarging my territory is God connect me to kids who need the support of the Potential Foundation.
Right.
And when we Mark Bailey introduced me to Greg White, and Greg White said, Tony, this is a blessing that you've come to this community.
Right.
But there's families in our community who don't have the means to have transportation to pick the kids up from the schools. So is there any way that you can go into Oyster Creek projects and develop a program there? So we developed a program with Pastor Britton, who runs the food bank.
Sure.
And it's going to, those families go to his church to fed. And, the food banks are going to be like Epic as well. They're going to be under so much pressure if this goes through. And you're absolutely right. What's going to happen is, in all likelihood, they're going to look for other means to put food on the table.
That's right.
That are not honourable.
That's right.
That are not honourable, unfortunately.
Well, that's
so
where
it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, we forget. As I was talking to you earlier today about just driving automobiles on the highway these days, and trucks that are going over 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, with huge trucks going and cutting in and out themselves and getting over to the left lane and then others that are just going no matter what the speed is. They have to go much faster than the speed. They have to get there 1 second quicker. And most of the time I see most of them there at the red light the same time when I get there. And they're just ahead of me, but they're still stopping just like I had to stop. And but some of them even will run through this. And so, this is our life. Where are we in relationship to God? That's really where the real question is. If you could just get to that place as to where are you in your relationship with God? And you have that choice. It's not some choice that you have to be thinking about. It's not some choice that you even have to worry about. It's not even a choice you have to make. But you know what? If you make the right choice with God, he will never leave you. And that's the way he always feels. He never wants to leave you. But that's up to you. That's not up to him, because he's opened the door. You just have to knock and come in. That's it. So
I think I've come to the realization that how can our lives make the biggest impact? And it's through serving those less fortunate than ourselves. I've chosen to do it through my passion. And regardless of how high a kid raises on soccer, it's inconsequential compared to if you can make them the heroes of their own story, and they can be positive community leaders of the future. And that's the vision that I think God's put in front of me, is why can't you take the 6-year-old kid in West Augustine and bring them all the way through your program, put them through St. John's River, put them through Flagler, and they come out in 15 years and be the community impact officer for the Potential Foundation. I don't think my life's going to make a huge difference by putting kids on the national teams anymore. To me, it's much more important is to try and shape the future community leaders through the sport. And I think when we all get upstairs and we knock on the door, I'm not going to get a well played for winning state championships. I'm going to get a well played for listening and being aware of who and what God sent you, and seeing that opportunity and moving in that direction. And I honestly believe that. The more I get, the older I get, the more I become stronger in my faith. And I think you've got to follow your faith, and you've got to keep the faith.
That's right.
And I don't believe that I'm here by coincidence. I don't believe these kids and these people have been put in. I don't think we're together by coincidence. I think it's all part of a bigger plan that we've got to listen to, and we've got to look out for and be ready for.
What happens is that God opens the door, and you can go through it or not. That's your choice. But once you go through it, you see the light, and the light is always there. That light is so perfect that no darkness could ever come in. That's what happens with life. Our lives are built upon the grace of God, not built upon the grace of our own wealth, our wealth is not worth anything. It's just a piece of something going through or to get food. But you know what? I remember all those stories when Jesus just had those 5 loaves of bread and just those 5 fishes. And everybody had so much food that they had leftovers. And that's who we are with God, because he takes care of us no matter what we think or where we're going, as long as we understand that truth will always let us be free. The truth will give us freedom. And that's where it is with God. And I realized that I had a silly story this weekend that I was going to tell. I've talked to one person about it, but it's one that reminded me. Back when my son, who's the mayor of St. Augustine Beach, and we had gone overseas, and we were in Hong Kong. I had a meeting there, and I had to be part of that. And he was just 9 at the time. And I remember as we went into a place across the water from Hong Kong across to the other side, that you could take the ferry across to that he had received some money that was extra than what he should have received. And his first comment was this: "Well, aren't you going to thank me?" And the lady at the cashier says this to him. She says, "If you ever do something that you shouldn't, that you are definitely helping to do, not what you should do, then I will thank you. But otherwise you were taking my money." And so I understood that. Well, fast forward. So here I was with a case at Walmart where I had an item that was so bad it was broken when it came in. And I'd been trying to get either fixed, not fixed new, but fixed with a replacement, and that couldn't happen. And so it was a third party, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally got through after certain things. I sent videos to the third party, showing them how it was broken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally did this on Saturday, and they finally said, "Okay, we're going to pay you." Well, they gave me a number that they paid me, and I thought, that's more than I was expecting, because I thought mine was the small thing and not the large thing that I had also bought at the same time. And the large thing it was fine. And so I said, well, I just get that extra money. Wow, that's pretty cool. And then God caught me. You really want to take that money? Nope, I don't. Then what are you going to do with it? Call them back. Took me a half hour to get through a person there to let me pay, to get less than the money that they were about to send me. And then I realized it. A neighbor across the street. I was carrying this big thing downstairs through where I live and outside, and it's heavy, real heavy. He comes over. "Can I help you?" I went through the door of light. And so that's what happens. That's what happens in your relationship to God. These small things tell you where you're going. They don't just listen. You see them. You can never miss them. Because where are you in Kyiv right now? Where are you in Gaza? Where are you in Israel? Where are you in all these bad things that have happened? Why? I heard the other day that on the trains in England, that somebody had knifed up so many people and killed them on a train. Just for what reason? What reason? Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of our lives? Is our life something to be anything other than a character champion? What is it? We all should be a character champion. And then we will never forget where we're going or where we're going to be and where we've been. Because from that point forward, we are a champion knowing where we are with God.
a beautiful words, Rick, and I think this community just embodies that, and that's what I'm blessed and thankful for, is to be part of this St. Augustine community, which is a special place.
Right.
Full of
We're blessed.
Full of faith.
We're blessed.
Full of love, and it just feels like a family of friends.
Yeah.
And I think for those of you that are listening to this, regardless of how strong your faith is, and you're wondering, well, how can I help? How can I get engaged with what you're doing, Tony, together with St. Augustine Community and Ancient City Soccer Club and Flagler College, is really three things. Volunteer. The best form of leadership is service and community service. So if you have any time to volunteer, to come and collect books, do a book drive for us. So these kids, 60% of kids living below the poverty level don't have one book in their household. Through Ancient City Soccer Club's families, we've just collected over 600 books that can be given to every child in Webster School, every child in Oyster Creek, every child in Murray Middle School, where we operate our programs, that maybe they don't have as many books as our kids do. Then just collect books and bring them to Ancient City Soccer Club. If you're not in Ancient City Soccer Club, you can drop them off at Barwick Bank. You can drop them off at Herbie Wiles Insurance before November the 6th. So that's the first area of need, is to collect books for kids between kindergarten and middle school. The second area is to donate. If you want to donate to sponsor children less fortunate than our own, to give them opportunities to lead and learn through soccer, then you can go to www.potential.org and click on donate and give what you can. This community has been so generous, which has enabled us last September to start with 18 kids, and now we have 108 children that we're serving through the Potential Foundation's Learning and Leadership Through Soccer program. And the third one is become a community impact partner. So if you're part of an organization that can be part of the Potential family, or you run a business where you want your employees and their kids to serve through soccer and do community engagement, that's the third way, is to become a community impact partner, either as a non-profit or for-profit organization. And my email is twilliams@potential.org. My cell phone is 484-252-3779. It's been an absolute blessing to talk to you today, and thank you for inspiring me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I think the tears in both of our eyes.
Right. They happen. They happen.
Real.
So here's the way I want to end this story. You've heard a lot about it with Tony and where he's going, and how you too can be a true champion, a character champion of all places. And we thank you for being on this show today, and we hope that next time that you'll enjoy what we're doing, and God bless you. Have a great day.